Hi, Sheila.
Hey Mary, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm great.
Good. We're going to do some dietary counseling today. So, do you have any idea why I might be interested in your dietary intake?
Um, well, I would assume if I'm here, something to do with cavities.
Good. That's good. Good thinking. I'm interested in your dietary habits because it affects your oral health based on what you eat. So, nutrients can play a role in the development of cavities, and it's something that we can modify what we eat to change that. So, we are going to look at your nutritional status and see how we can lower your risk for cavities.
All
So
right.
now I would like to ask you a few questions regarding your health and lifestyle to give me a better understanding of your food choices. So, where do you normally obtain your sources of food from?
Usually I'll go to the grocery store. I'm fairly close to one, so
And do you
it's easy.
do you shop? Do you shop for yourself, or do you live alone?
Yeah, I live by myself, so I cook and shop all for myself.
Okay. And do you have any oral conditions or issues that kind of affect what you buy or make you hesitant on foods you can eat?
Nope. Nope, I don't actually.
Okay. Um, can you identify any physical or mental health concerns that I should be aware of?
Um, nope, nothing.
Okay. How about your family history that you know of? Any health conditions or?
Nothing other than like hypertension and I think like some heart issues, but nothing other than that.
Okay. Interesting. So growing up, can you recall if your family ever pushed any positive oral hygiene in your household or any good practices of clean teeth?
I think growing up, mostly the only thing was like brushing teeth. We didn't. I don't ever remember like flossing was not a big thing for growing up, so it was mostly just brushing.
Did you like brushing your teeth when you were?
I don't think so.
No. Okay. That's good. That's good. So, can you give me a summary of kind of like your daily activities, kind of when you wake up and what you do when you eat, and wait till when you go to bed, like a typical day?
Yeah, so usually I'll like wake up, have breakfast before I go to school. Usually make a lunch, so I usually bring a lunch to school, and then just eat whenever I have a break. Um, Usually I'll have a snack before lunch though, because I get hungry. So it's usually like a granola bar or something, and then I usually don't eat anything too much in the afternoon other than just go home and have supper, and that's basically it.
Do you usually eat close to when you go to bed?
Not a lot, but sometimes I do.
Okay, okay. Perfect. And are you a smoker?
No,
Okay. Do you ever experience any dry mouth?
no, I haven't.
Okay. And are you at your ideal weight currently?
I'm happy with my weight right now.
Okay. Thank you very much. So now I'd like to talk about some tooth decay. Do you have any idea what decay might be in related to oral health care?
I think the only thing that could think of is probably just like cavities. That's probably the thing that I actually just think of. But how cavities are formed, I don't really know the process.
Okay, that's a good start. So decay is basically caused by edible sugars. When you eat them, they interact with the bacteria that's already in your mouth, and your saliva tries to calm it down and buffer it. But sometimes the acid overpowers your saliva, and it can end up decaying the enamel of the tooth surface. So, does that give you a little bit more of an idea?
Yeah.
So basically, whenever you eat something that causes the acid production in your mouth, we call it an acid attack, and it usually lasts for about 20 minutes. So every time you eat something new that causes more acid in the mouth, it's like a frequency of another acid attack.
Okay.
So usually we try to limit the amount of frequency that we're eating sugars so that we don't have the constant disruption of the enamel on the tooth.
Right.
So now that we know a little bit more about decay, I'm just going to get you to work out a little formula here on your notebook. So we're going to talk about the combination of bacteria plus sugar is going to equal acid. So you can write that on your sheet. Bacteria plus sugar is going to create that acid that forms in your mouth. And then the acid is going to adhere to the tooth or demineralize the enamel, and that will lead to decay. with your 20-minute acid attack.
Okay.
Okay? Now I'm going to get you to take your dietary assessment, and we're going to circle all of the different forms of sugar that we've intaked over the 5-day assessment.
Okay.
Okay? So just go through and circle all the forms of sugar that you see. That's good. Any more? Okay. So, now that we've learned a little bit about the bacteria and the sugar creating acid in the mouth, do you think there's anything that we can do to lower the risk of cavities in this process?
I guess probably just eat less sugar, or eat less sugar.
Yeah, okay. So we can actually work on eating sugar in our diet kind of with meals instead of between meals.
Okay.
And we can also eat them at less frequency. So
Okay.
not as much throughout the day, maybe like one time with your meal sort of thing. So do you think that solid or liquid sugars might cause more acid production in the mouth?
Probably liquids is what I would think.
Liquids?
Mm-hmm.
Usually we say that sticky type of solids cause a lot of acid production because it kind of sticks to the tooth. And do you think maybe eating a lot of sugar or more frequent amounts of sugar might cause more acid attacks in the mouth?
Probably the frequency.
Yeah, that's good thinking. Yeah, frequency, like the more your mouth is exposed to it, you're not really giving your mouth time to stop being exposed to the acid, so it's like multiple exposures. And do you think it might be better to, if you're eating sugar, kind of consume it between your meals or with your meal or with some other foods?
Yeah, probably with other foods.
That is a good choice. So usually when you eat sugars with other foods, the other foods kind of calm it down and buffer it so that it's not as acidic in the mouth.
Okay.
Great. So after looking at your 5-day dietary assessment, I was able to kind of look at the different intakes of sugar that you have when you have them, and if they're liquid or solid, and kind of the frequency between or within meals. So if we're looking at here, on the first day, we had about how many exposures of solid sugar with your meals? What would you say?
Yes, yeah. So let's say we had 3.
Okay. Any solid exposures within the meals or between meals?
1.
So we have 3 with meals and 1 between meals. And what about liquid exposures of sugar?
So they didn't have anything. Nothing liquid.
Okay.
For the first day.
Okay. And the second day, do we have any liquid form of sugar exposure between meals or with meals?
Nope, nothing for the second day.
Okay. And what about solid forms with meals or between meals?
I got a couple with meals and a couple between meals.
Okay. And we got, what was the number we got for the second day? 2 and 2. And the third day, did you have any liquid forms of sugar in between or with your meals?
Nope, no liquid forms of sugar.
Okay. And for solids on day 3, did you have any exposures between your meals or with your meals?
Yes. So looks like with meals 3.
Okay.
And then between 1.
Okay. And between, we're talking about snacks, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then on the 4th day, did you have any solid sugar exposures with your meals or between your meals?
Yes. So looks like with my meals I had 3, and then in between 1.
Okay. And the last day of your dietary assessment, did you have any liquid form of sugar between your meals or with your meals?
Yes. I got 1 smoothie.
And that was with a meal, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then for your solid sugar intake, what about, did you have any between your meals or with your meal?
Yep. I think 3 again with my meals and 1 in between.
Okay, so overall, it seems like we've only had one day where we had a sugar liquid form of exposure, and that was on day 5, which was your smoothie that you had, and that was with a meal. So that would mean that that sugar was a little bit buffered by other foods that you ate with it.
Okay.
But for the solids, it seems like every day we've had a couple exposures from with your meal or between meals. So like during breakfast, lunch, or supper, or between the snacks that you have before or after those meals.
Mm-hmm.
So if we total up these, your total liquid exposure is 1,
Okay.
and then your total solid exposures to sugar is 20. So every time we have a liquid exposure, our pH drops below 5.5, which means it's becoming more acidic.
Okay.
So the mouth is having more acid in it, which gets you more susceptible to the exposure on your enamel. So we usually multiply the exposure by about 20 minutes. So it takes about 20 minutes of acid being produced in your mouth. And if you divide that by your 5 days, you basically had about 4 minutes of daily liquid acid exposure,
Okay.
which is not too bad. So then for your solid your solid sugar exposure, you had about 20 separate exposures. And with the solid, it's usually a little bit more harmful than the liquid. So we multiply by about 40 minutes that the pH drops below 5.5, so your mouth becomes more acidic for a longer period of time, which equals about 800 minutes of acid exposure for the whole week. And if we divide that by your days, on average, we have about 160 minutes of daily liquid acid production per day. So if we add that together, on average, your total daily acid production would be about 164, and that's the total minutes per day that your teeth are exposed to acid on the enamel surface of your tooth, which leads to demineralization. Do you think that 164 minutes is a lot or average?
I mean, it seems like it might be high, but I guess I don't really know.
Yeah, it is a little bit high. Usually around 120 minutes per day is the kind of upper limit for exposure on the teeth.
Okay.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about Canada's Food Guide.
Okay.
Are you familiar with Canada's Food Guide at all?
A little bit. Like I've seen it, but
Okay, so it's basically kind of a standardization for recommended dietary intake for people to have enough nutrients to stay healthy and functional, but not obese or malnourished.
okay.
So usually for a female within your age range, it gives us a certain amount of servings per day that are acceptable to meet the nutrient requirements for daily functioning. So the Canada's Food Guide divides its food groups into 4 kind of major categories. We have fruits and vegetables as one category, grain products as another category, milk and alternatives, and meat and alternatives.
Okay.
So it gives people kind of a variety of options if they're not big milk drinkers, or and maybe if they don't include meat in their type of lifestyle or diet. So after looking at your 5-day assessment, we kind of averaged out the amount of servings per day that you're getting for each of these categories. So the average recommended serving per day of fruits and vegetables for your age range is between 7 and 8 servings.
Okay.
And what was the number that you got for that?
So I think on the average was around 6.
Right, okay. So that's kind of about, within range. It's just a little bit under, but still very close to the recommended serving. And for grain products, the average recommended serving is between 6 and 7 servings of grain products per day. And for your total, what was your average for your 5 days, kind of?
Yeah, I think around 7.
Okay, which is pretty good, within range. And then for milk and alternatives, The average serving is 2 for females of your age. And what was your average total?
Looks like 3.5.
Okay, so that's a little bit over, but still very, very good. And for meats and alternatives, the Canada's Food Guide recommends 2 servings per day. And what did you have for your total?
Looks like I got 2.
2? Perfect.
Servings.
So it seems like you're meeting the requirements of Canada's Food Guide recommendations for fruits, vegetables, grain, milk, and meat, which is pretty good. So it seems that your daily requirements are within range of Canada's Food Guide, which is great. Although we did have maybe a little bit of a higher tooth acid exposure, maybe we could see how we might be able to lower that exposure frequency or time to see if we can lower your risk for cavities. Do you think that any of your breakfast, lunch, dinner, or snacks might be able, we could maybe do some substitutes and see what is causing that acid exposure?
Oh, yeah. So probably, I mean, I could probably have my snacks with something.
Right,
I guess.
like the granola bar, maybe eat with some sort of meal or some sort of buffer to lower the acid production in the mouth. Maybe with some dairy.
Okay. Maybe like
cheese, yeah.
Some cheese strings or something. And maybe
yeah,
I can
that's a
add
great
some,
idea.
Okay.
And maybe like a glass of water after you eat the granola bar.
I do need to take in more water, so.
Okay. And I noticed there was something, the fruit smoothie caused like a little bit of the heightened liquid acid exposure. Did you have that with a meal or between meals?
That one I had with supper.
Okay,
so.
And is that something that you usually drink or?
No, it's just the one time.
Okay, all right, so that's okay. So then, do you think there's any other solid snacks or treats maybe could have at different times of the day or maybe less frequently?
Well, probably, I mean, the one day where I just had ice cream, I could probably, not just have ice cream.
Okay, that sounds good.
Or maybe not have it as frequently.
Okay, and maybe that would kind of lower your risk for cavities if you're lowering the acid exposure frequency in the mouth. Do you think that's something maybe you'd want to have a goal of maybe lowering your risk for cavities?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to have any cavities.
No.
So.
Okay, cool. So that might be like a little goal maybe to better your oral health. Okay, so overall, this assessment has gone really well, and I'm hoping that I might have been able to open your eyes on a little bit of nutritional advice or counseling in relation to oral health. So do you have anything that you would like to ask me or that you maybe have a better understanding of now that we've had a little counseling session?
Well, yeah, I think just like didn't know before that like all that like acid production. I just figured like after you eat it, you get it out of your mouth, like it's good as long as it's just not staying there. But yeah, so it's good to know that like what you eat does have an impact on like the health of my teeth. So.
Yeah, which is important to have healthy teeth, and you don't want to have any decay on your teeth from the acid production. So yeah, I think the most important thing is that kind of limit your frequency of these sugars, and maybe change the form or watch the form of them. Maybe not so sticky and solid. Maybe not so many times per day, and kind of just eating foods with meals instead of frequently between meals or snacking these like sticky types of sugars.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Great, Sheila. Well, thank you.
No, thank you.
You're welcome.